of our largest departments. Now everybody says that we got questions to usually every week that we get in the newspaper, and the question was very deceiving because it talked about percentages.
Yeah.
You know what? I can't go off percentages when you're doing stuff like that because I can't compare our fire department with somebody else's fire department. I can't compare our police department with somebody else's police department. So it's not fair to use percentages because it's very misleading to say percentages, because there's no way to figure it out per se, at least in a meaningful manner anyway. So that's what we got to be careful of, because one day we're going to wake up again and they're going to have to jump through to figure out how they're going to pay people. And that's going to fall back to the council people and the city manager. And then what are we going to do? Who are we going to cut from then? Just because they're the two largest departments, I keep hearing they're the two largest departments. Show me a city in the country
That they aren't.
that they're not the two largest, and I'm talking of a decent sized city.
Sure.
There are a lot of, Timbuktu towns
With
where,
volunteers.
but they're also volunteers, okay?
Yes.
So it takes a big difference. Their truck is probably 35 years old. For them, it does the job. It doesn't work in our scenario. Again, our situation is unique to us, not somebody else, and vice versa. So that's going to be a rude awakening one day that we need to come up with answers for now. At least be speaking about it. I don't hear anybody talking about it. We're too busy worrying about what we're going to spend money on that we don't have next for a quality of life that we think we need to give somebody that we don't need to be giving them. Because the quality of life is public safety when it's all said and done right now. Now, we get things all leveled out on a level playing field, and we've got a true surplus. All of our bills are paid, everything's taken care of, this guy's funded properly, they're competitively paid. He doesn't have to worry about losing guys to other places. Retention is a killer for them, and it's a killer for the police department.
Yes.
Well, it's a killing for the budget, because you have to
Okay.
retrain somebody new each time.
And you always pay for things on the front end or the back end.
Yes.
Anybody that knows anything, back end is always more expensive.
Sorry.
So why not just pay for it now versus paying for it later? But again, you still got a budget for things. I understand that. I realize that some things need to be cut. But it cannot be back to my example of on a diet. You can't keep cutting and making the same person be on a diet. It doesn't work. It's not healthy. They're going to get to a point where they're not going to be able to literally do your jobs. At what point would it take to, I mean, you guys are always going to do your job. If you lost, say, if you lost 15 more people, where would that put you guys?
You're shutting down a fire station.
I don't know that our city can afford, I mean, literally can afford that.
And didn't you just shut down the fire station?
We shut down Station 4, which was at Skylark Airfield. It housed our ARF truck. And it had 6 people. It was 6 people assigned to it.
Now, why did they shut that one down?
Well, so when that was the only airport in town, we had to keep the ARF truck there because the FAA, I always want to say FFA, it's not the Future Farmers of America. The FAA had it as an indexed airport, which meant the city had to keep up certain services to it, one of those being having a crash rescue truck there. When the new airport opened, this one, Skylark Field became unindexed. A lot of traffic came through there, essentially just a couple private planes and then CTC doing their deal out there. It didn't have to have that there anymore.
Okay.
Funny story though, day we shut it down, they had a crash there. Nobody was hurt, which is why it's a funny story. They had an aircraft that crashed the day that we shut it down.
Wow.
Or the day we shut it down, or the day after. Nobody got hurt, so that's why I can say it's a funny story.
Wow.
But those people this was during all the budget stuff, those people were reassigned to some different areas of town and some different job roles. But yeah.
And that goes back to why we cannot have our leaders saying, oh, everything's fine. We don't got to worry about nothing. Not when I'm going up there also being doom and gloom. He has to also keep a certain amount of optimism about it. I understand that. I'm for that. But you also got to be realistic. You also be realistic by communicating. And guys, we're going to have a town meeting where, just like the KISD is selling their bonds, city needs to do more selling of themselves, in my opinion.
Yes. Right.
And it's not about selling, it's a matter of explanation.
Right.
This is what we have to do,
Transparent.
this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it. Nothing wrong with that. And I think they'd be surprised at the cooperation they would get from the city as a whole, from the, versus all the headache that they seem to feel like they're always getting. But if you're always turning your back and not giving people your attention, that's what happens. You know, you're not taking care of me, so I can do something else. So here's an example of concentrations. You know, they give me a book to read, and I'm like, oh my goodness, another book to read, right? Actually, it was very interesting. I didn't understand a lot of it because it's fireman jargon. But I did make some phone calls and said, hey, what does this mean? What does that mean? And then I finally got through it. But it's actually very enlightening. I don't know that this is too much to hand out to everybody, but, you know, but these things with the graph, I think that'd be an epiphany for some people to be able to see this kind of information, to understand things. So here's an example of call volume. And what they mean by medic, that's their ambulance for us, okay? So, and this picture represents call volume for the fire and EMS. So if you had a ninth, this is without a ninth ambulance. And also, this is only a representative of 7 stations, not 8, because 9 is not in this one.
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
we did that before when that was
Right.
open.
So that's something else as I was looking at it. This does not represent station 9, okay? So this is all the rest of it. So now imagine the volume if you threw 9 in the mix, okay? And they're down 1, and this is the call volume I have. Now I realize it's concentrated more in this section. Is there any reason for that, do you think?
It's the older part, I mean, it's the older part of town, it's the downtown area,
Yeah, this is the north area, just so you guys are orientating yourselves with where we're at.
Heavy population down there.
there's a lot of population on there, there's, like I said, it's the older part of town, there are some older residents. Historically, it's kind of the lower socioeconomic area part of the city, which typically always has a little bit higher demand for services for EMS and for police. But you can see from there, I mean, it's coming out, it's trickling out. There those yellow areas,
Right out
and
there.
the purple areas are moving down. You know, these are some of the hot spots that we run to frequently.
And this will only continue to grow as well anyway,
Yeah,
you know.
and that's what's represented on there is 3 years of call data.
Right.
From 2013.
13,
Is it 13?
13, 16.
Oh, that's right. 'Cause
Yeah. I got the
we
book.
handed it out, so we got it finished in 17, yeah.
Yeah.
So 2013 to 2016, and our call volume has only gone up a steady
Since then,
since then.
what, I think you guys tell me you guys average 50 calls plus or minus a day?
Yeah, 50 is a really good number. 50 is it's usually a little bit plus. But we do get our slow days, so sometimes we drop below the 50 mark, but 50 is a very good number.
Right. So, but nonetheless, that's a lot of work for these guys, okay? So by having less than what you need, it becomes more cumbersome to them. So if they had a ninth ambulance, it would be a great relief for them. So there's an example of that. And then this I thought was interesting. This goes back to the graph that we were talking about.
I see what your graph
Okay.
is. Okay.
And this is the medic, again, the medic is referring to ambulance calls, okay?